Okay, so here's the track that I kind of made off the back of the drums that I created. I'm going to give you guys a little preview just so that you can hear all the elements together. And then we're going to just break it down, just look at what I kind of did with the drums just to, keep the track interesting. And we'll kind of just have a look at some of the other elements that I added to this track. So with the drums, after kind of building that initial loop that I enjoyed, the rest of it was kind of just like copy and pasting, but also just kind of just like taking away elements, just to add some breath, just to add some space, and to allow other elements within the track to work. So as I kind of left off from the last video where I was like, cool, this is where I kind of start adding effects and start building off of that. That's precisely what I did. So once I had the loop I was happy with, which I think was like this first, might even be more. I think I had a 32 bar. I was kind of just being like, cool, yeah, this is me. I started working on my intro, so I just stripped away loads of the drums to help create the intro. You guys saw when I re-recorded the drum bass, and then resampled it so that I kind of got like, so that it sounds like it's pitched down, but it's not. So it's still in time, but it just sounds like it's been resampled weird. So I used that for my intro. Have a little listen. If I solo that. So I did add a filter to it and automated that. What you may have noticed as well, but there's like an additional melody on top of the sample. So I didn't want to keep that sample exactly the same. It was kind of getting a little bit annoying to me, and I bet no doubt that you guys, after watching the first video, kind of just got sick of it as well. So I created this melody using wavetables. So yeah, nothing special. I was just trying to get this tune just wrapped up. But yeah, it done the job. And what I also did with my sample, again, just to kind of just like stop it from feeling exactly the same the whole time. Just simple. So you might be able to you might hear it pulsing. That's just because it's being sidechained to my kick. But what I done, just using Ableton's processing, I just pitched it down by an octave, just so that like, yeah, once everything drops, like the listener gets something slightly different. They're like, okay, cool, it's changed a little bit. Well, it still feels similar, but without it just being exactly the same, without me just copy and pasting the whole thing. I've kind of just like stretched that sample just that extra little bit. I didn't want to go too crazy with it, but yeah, I kind of felt that like, yeah, just pitching it down the octave kind of just helped. Just kind of helped it. So again, like with this kind of melody, if we just have a little look at this. So you might notice that it's like this melody pulsing a little bit, and what I've done, I've been using this sidechaining plugin called Duck, just to kind of just create like more like pumping sounds. I really like the sidechain effect in my music. It just adds another kind of groove to it, and it's one of those kind of things which I use it for a creative purpose, but it also has mixing benefits. So yeah, here's Duck is from Devious Machines, and yeah, as you can kind of see, that I just kind of just drew in an envelope, and if I bypass it so you guys can kind of hear it off. So you can hear all the notes in my melody, whereas with Duck on, it's like the whole rhythm's totally changed. So with this now, it's kind of just been like, I've been using it so that I can get more variation out of my melodies. So it feels like it's one rhythm playing during one part, and then in another part, I will automate the amount so that you can hear all the notes, and it's just like, okay, cool, sick. It looks like a very simple plugin. However, you know, this kind of crossfade, this kind of crossover here is pretty powerful. And you can almost treat it like a multiband. So I have it on at the moment. So what it's showing is that only the high end over, where's my crossover? So anything past, it was like 615 hertz is being affected by Duck, and everything lower, everything below that is okay. So yeah, that also adds that extra kind of dynamic to their sound. So let's kind of have a look where I've automated it. So if we go from here, and let's listen to that with the rest of the track. So without having to do too much, I've kind of just been able to get that little bit extra out of my melodies. And, you know, I feel that it works well with like the drums as well. It just kind of just like taking away and adding different elements within my drums just made that whole little loop just feel that little bit more interesting. So yeah, additionally, as I kind of mentioned, that whole kind of ear candy, I threw in a few different effects, just some simple sweeps. I think what is also maybe a good technique or a good method is that, you know, sometimes it's really easy to just like throw in like a build or like a sweep or whatever from a sample pack. And don't get me wrong, I threw in a handful of them in this track. But what you can also do, if you have, I mean, this works for you Ableton users, Operator. I use Operator as the tool for that, but there's definitely synths out there with like white noise generators or whatever. Just get Operator up or whatever VST you're using, set it to some type of noise, and then just use a filter or EQ or whatever to kind of just like, yeah, filter it. And just manually create your sweeps. So yeah, here's a bit of the automation I have on it. Let me just solo this, just so you can guys hear how the sweep is working. So what I did with that, you might also heard that that was pumping as well. So rather than using like one of the duck, or like a shaper box, or yeah, pump, or any of those other kind of plugins I do use regularly for pumping sounds, I just use this auto pan just because it was quicker and easier, or it's just quicker, I can say. And then yeah, all I done was just change the phase to 0. You can change it to 360, either way. And then yeah, just automated the amount. So as the cutoff was opening up and we can hear more of that white noise, I've also made it so that like the amount of the panning or the pump increases as well. And yeah, it's just too simple. A couple simple plugins you can kind of just like throw in on your chain, and you can do this throughout your whole track. So you can add these little like background build up and then layer that up with some other kind of like effects you've got, or whether you created your own out of your samples, whether you you cut your melody, you add reverb, you reversed it, and you added some like pump or some automation to it, some like filter cutoff or a frequency sweep or whatever, and use that as like a build up or a drop. And then if you've got that layered with this, you're just adding more textures to your build ups, which is kind of just like, again, adding that more little ear candy, adding those more moments where your listeners being like, okay, cool, something's changing, something's happening, and it brings them back interested back into your track. And then got my 808s as well here, which I just added on top. Nothing special, just a simple 808 with a couple glides. And with my effects, I always like throwing in a bit of found sound, some field recordings. So I just used some recordings from like an alley in Bangkok. This is from that street food sample pack which I put out. I think you Patreon guys should have access to this as well. Somebody driving past. Cool. And finally, like towards the end of the track, I put halftime on my master bus and just recorded everything, and just had a little pitch down version, almost kind of Drake kind of vibe. Let's have a quick listen to that. I then also just added just like a little vocal chop. This is from another sample which is available in the last sample pack I made available for you guys, the E crate digging one. So yeah, this is something else you guys can play around with. And that's it, to be fair, pretty much. With this track, it's almost like no real 16 bar is ever the same throughout this whole track. There's always different elements being added or taken away. So if we have a quick look, cool, just so I can get the whole thing. So my point is that in this track, no 16 bar of my drums is ever the same. There's always elements being taken away or not. It's just like there's always some type of movement or variety in my drums where it's just like complementing the extra samples and melodies which I've added to the track, which hopefully makes it interesting and makes it worth the listener listening to the end. And especially with nowadays music, and being a DJ and any of you other DJs out there, sometimes you kind of want to make music which gets past the bridge, which makes it interesting for your listener to or yeah, your fan base or the crowd to enjoy throughout. So yeah, we'll just have a quick scrub so you can just see, like, this is my first 16 bar of my drums, and then if we go to the next 16, straight away you can see there's elements missing, elements I took away to kind of just add another little effect or variety. And then if we move to the next 16, same sort of thing again, whether it's my kicks or whether it's a snare, whether it's my hi-hats, I'm taking away and adding bits throughout the whole track, like I said, just to keep that variety going. And then on my last 16 or last 8, I think I just have a few bits back, but then it just kind of fades out, just so that it can make room for my outro. So yeah, give that a go. When you're making your tracks and you slowly building on, don't just copy and paste. Take away some bits. I was very tempted to add some more percussion to this drum loop, but I stopped myself for the sake of it not being too crowded and not too much happening. And that's another decision to kind of just like bear in mind. Just like every now and then, you're gonna want to throw something in. Rather than throw something in, take something away and just add that space or replace it. You might be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna replace these hi-hats with some percussion found sounds that I recorded or whatever. So something to consider. So yeah, I hope that video kind of helped make some sense for you guys, might have like answered some questions that you guys might have had. And yeah, kind of like I said, in it's just all about kind of just adding that variety to your drums. Once you get your drum loop and you're like, cool, this is sick, this is what I'm happy with, try not to get into the habit of just copying and pasting. Don't be afraid to take away some elements, whether you take away a kick, whether you take away a snare, hi-hat, percussion, whatever. All of those little moments of space is good. Like, space and breath is good in a track. So as you can kind of see in what I created, I tried to make the most out of that and use that to add more variety and just highlight other elements within my track and keep it interesting throughout the whole thing. So I hope. So yeah, like I mentioned before, there's going to be stems available for you guys. The stems of the track is all there. Take it, do as you please. Plus, for you Ableton users, there's an instrument rack which will allow you guys to do the drum fill glitch effect, which I created using Beat Repeat, and I made it so that it's easier for you guys just to dial in the settings and just get that kind of effect straight away without having to work out how to kind of get that type of sound. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and yeah, see you guys next month.